Hello students, this is the second video of Living World and topic covered in this video are biodiversity, systematics, classical and modern taxonomy. So let's start. So let us start with diversity in living world. Currently, there are 1.7 to 1.8 million living organisms. Out of these, 1.25 million are animals and 0.5 million are plants. Out of 1.25 million animals, 1.025 millions are insects, which means insects are the major group present in the animals. And there are many species which are yet to be discovered in the tropical rainforest and underwater reefs. Now let us study some of the terminologies. The first terminology that we have to study is systematics. Systematics is that science that deals with study of diversity of organism, study of variety of organisms. This study of diversity of organism is based on certain studies of the anatomy of organism. Anatomy means study of internal structure, on the comparative biochemistry, on the comparative ecology. And you have to remember that in systematics, when we study diversity of organism, their interrelationships and evolutionary relationships are also studied. Interrelationships means what are the common things between two organisms, and evolutionary relationship means that what are the ancestral relationships of that organism. So systematics, it deals with study of diversity of organisms. It also studies the interrelationship and the evolutionary relationship of the organism, and it is based on study of anatomy, biochemistry, ecology, etc. Now let us study the second definition of taxonomy. Taxonomy is that branch that deals with identification of organism. First we have to identify the organism, then we have to give the name to the organism, that is known as nomenclature, and then we have to classify that organism. So that branch of biology that deals with identification, nomenclature and classification is known as taxonomy. You have to remember here that the word taxonomy and systematics are used interchangeably because they are very close. But the main difference between taxonomy and systematics is that in taxonomy, we do not study the interrelationships and evolutionary relationship, whereas in systematics, both evolutionary relationship and interrelationship between the organism is studied. Now let us move to third definition, that is classification. Classification means arrangement of organism into categories on the basis of their certain similarities or on the basis of their differences. When we arrange the organism into certain groups on the basis of their common character, that is known as classification. Nomenclature means giving name to the organism. Each organism, it has two names. One is its common name and other is scientific name, and the scientific name has two parts, generic name and specific epithet, that we will learn later. Next definition is identification. Identification means that after nomenclature, we have to identify the correct place for the organism. That is known as identification. And the sixth definition key that we will study afterward. Now let us start with systematics. Now let us study the systematics in detail. Systematics means categorizing plants, animals and organisms into convenient groups so that they can be easily named, they can be easily remembered, and they can be easily studied. The scientists who study systematics are called taxonomists. I have already told you systematics and taxonomy word are used interchangeably, and I have already told you the main difference. Now, the systematic study is based on morphology, means study of external character, cytology, means study of cell, biochemical analysis, ecological relationship, means environmental relationships. Now, let us look at some of the history. Now, Hippocrates, which is known as father of medicine, and Aristotle, who is the father of zoology, they arranged animals into aquatic, terrestrial and aerial, and this classification was based on the habitat. Then came Theophrastus, who is father of botany. He divided the plants into trees, herbs and shrubs on the basis of habitat, and he also wrote the book Historia Plantarum. Now, the first system, artificial system of classifying organisms was given by Pliny the Elder, and he gave the book Historia Naturalis, in which he mentioned 1,000 economic plants. Next come the scientist John Ray. John Ray gave the book Historia Genera Plantarum, and he is famous because he gave the term species. Next comes the father of taxonomy, which is the Carolus Linnaeus. Carolus Linnaeus is a Swedish scientist. He wrote 2 books, and these books are very important. First is Systema Naturae, in which he described about animal, and second is Species Plantarum, in which he described about plants. Next come the natural system of classification and artificial system. Now let us discuss in detail about this. Now let us understand some systems of classification. The first system of classification is natural system of classification. In natural system, large number of characters are studied. In natural system, when we classify the organism according to the natural system of classification, we study large number of characters. For example, the morphological character, the cytological character, the embryological character. Whereas in artificial system, only few characters are studied, which are morphological characters. Now, the third system is phylogenetic classification or cladistics. Phylogenetic system of classification is based on study of ancestral relationships, evolutionary relationships. In phylogenetic classification, we study only ancestral or evolutionary relationships. Next is numerical taxonomy. In numerical taxonomy, we study a large number of characters. We take the help of the computers, and each character is given a numerical digit. That is why it is known as numerical taxonomy. Now, let us move further on the basis of systematic study. See, systematic study is based on, number one, characterization. First of all, on what basis we will classify or we will characterize the animal. First of all, we will give its description, that is characterization. Secondly, we will identify the organism. After giving the description, we will identify the organism. Then we will classify the organism on the basis of the similarity and dissimilarity. And at the last, we will give the name to the organism, that is nomenclature. So characterization is the first step in the systematics, then identification, then classification, and then nomenclature. Now let us move on further to classical taxonomy. Now classical taxonomy, there are 2 types of taxonomy, classical taxonomy and modern taxonomy, which is given here. Classical taxonomy and modern taxonomy, which is also known as new systematics. The main difference is that the classical taxonomy, we study only a few characters in classical taxonomy. And that few characters are only morphological characters, and interrelationship and evolutionary relationship of organisms are not brought about by classical taxonomy. Whereas in modern taxonomy, we study a large number of characters, including morphological, anatomical, cytological, genetics, and we bring about interrelationship among the organism also, and we also bring about the evolutionary relationship of the organism. The father of new systematics or modern taxonomy is Sir Julian Huxley, whereas classical taxonomy was given by Carolus Linnaeus. I hope you would have understood the word systematics and taxonomy. Please subscribe to my channel.